Love and light friends, let's talk more about The Cure. No, not the band, but The Cure. For every ailment. Because they've got us believing in sickness and disease. And whatever you believe, you can manifest. So when you get sick or you get a disease, you're kind of shocked about it, but at the same time, you've been programmed to believe in it. So it's not that big of a deal. And you've also been programmed in what you're supposed to do about it. And so you head into the matrix for the cure. But if you notice, there's not too many people getting cured. Sometimes they seemingly get better because their pharmaceuticals and their drugs are masking their symptoms. But that's no cure. So this is really simple, but for whatever reason, our mind's been fucked up. And so getting the mind back to being right is a bit of a challenge and takes a little bit of work. And so there's a few things to understand. So the obvious thing, let's just talk about some obvious things. Obviously the food and the fuel that you put into the body is what the body has to work with as far as physically to do whatever it needs to do to try to maintain health. But we have slowly but surely gotten more and more into dead food and dead water. And if you don't know much about water, and you probably don't, you really should dive as deep into water as you can go. Because there's way more there's way more to water than you realize. And when I say dead water or unstructured water, what does that mean? It could pertain to the pH. It could pertain to minerals or lack thereof. It could pertain to toxins like fluoride or chlorine being in it. And if you're drinking city water, you're for sure getting overdoses of both of those. And there's a reason for these things. This is not just happenstance. What, you just happen to have fluoride in your city water? And then the weak ass excuse they give you for poisoning you slowly is whatever weak ass excuse they're giving you to poison you slowly, but you still sit there and drink it. And you may say, well, I have a filter. Well, a filter does nothing for the structure, the molecular structure, or lack thereof, of the water. So your filter might be helping you take some toxins or dirt or rocks out of your water, but it's still not structured water. Let's talk a minute about minerals. Inorganic minerals are non-living due to no carbon. Electrons in inorganic minerals rotate anti-clockwise, which is opposite of the way the body's molecules or organic minerals rotate. They're toxic to the body. You can get that from shellfish. And shellfish contain calcium carbonate, also found in cement making factories. Organic minerals work in harmony with the body. The electrons spin clockwise and bond with us at a cellular level through ionic bond. Organic minerals are living and easily broken down by the body, or used, incorporated by the body, and they're found in organic foods: apples, oranges, celery, and of course that one you really, really love, kale. Distilled water is negatively charged. Undistilled water is positively charged and acidic. Distilled water is more toward alkaline. And let's mention Monatomics again. Let's mention Ormus. And Ormus is orbitally rearranged monatomic elements. Now it's kind of crazy that these days you kind of have to become a scientist, a physicist, a guru, a spiritualist, just to get a handle on what's going on in this reality, or the reality of the lower world, or the reality that's going on in the Matrix. Now, if you've begun the process of extricating yourself from the Matrix, these things will apply less and less to you, because you're quantum shifting. Quantum jumping, it's called. Timeline jumping, it's called. But let's just come right out and call it what's actually happening with this. Is that your beliefs, your intentions, your emotions are creating your reality via the law of attraction. And wherever you're putting your conscious focus and attention, which is life force currency, is creating your reality or your experience. And the higher vibrationally that you get, the higher in densities that you get, the quicker you're able to manifest that which you are either trying to manifest, or wherever you're putting your focus and attention. So in other words, you get better at it as you learn more about it and understand it more and in practice. See, the whole thing of spirituality is it's a practice. As you can see, the little dude in my painting, he is practicing. And you may say, well, he's just sitting there. He's practicing getting in touch with, there's many words, the higher self, getting in touch with the resolve that comes after you awaken from the belief systems that you have basically locked yourself in a room, a square room, and said, this is the way I believe, all of it fits nicely in this square room, and I will live my life in this room. I'm speaking metaphor. This room is in your mind. This box is in your mind, therefore the term think outside the box. If you want to expand and grow and actually get some knowledge and wisdom and understanding, you're going to have to get out of that box, out of that room, out of that mentality. Whew. So, this is my ministry to you. And some of you will get that. Anyhow, so water, see, we hear a lot of people talking about food, diets, all this stuff, right? And the majority of people you know around you and see around are all overweight. Why is that? They're starving. Well, wait a minute. How can they be starving if they're overweight? Because they're not assimilating nutrients, if they're even getting any, through their dead diet and their dead water. So their body is constantly hungry, constantly thirsty, because you're not hydrating your cells with dead water. And so these people are literally starving. And so they overeat the dead food, and all it does is put weight on their body, clogs their arteries, and every other thing, which is just another way of saying you're building up toxins. You don't have to be fat. You could be skinny and be totally packed with toxins. Fat is not the only manifestation of starvation. There's different metabolisms. So you could be skinny and be hungry all the time and eating all the time, trying to satiate your body's cry for food because it feels hungry, but really all that's happening is you're not assimilating any nutrition, or very little. And you can't do it anyway, even if you put a bunch of nutrition in, if you're not properly hydrated. And you're not going to be properly hydrated if you're not drinking a good quality water. So let's get into, well, what is a good quality water? Some would say, well, I drink mineral water. Well, guess what? Mineral water is useless, because the minerals in that water are dead minerals, are positively charged minerals that are not assimilated by the body. So how do inorganic dead minerals become living minerals and negatively charged? Oh, it's a process called alchemy. All right, how does that happen? Well, your tomato plant absorbs these dead minerals and through alchemy converts them into living organic minerals. And then it creates a beautiful bright red fruit that gets your attention. And the plant is saying to you, hey, anybody out there that would like to get some living minerals, some organic minerals, come and eat my fruit. I made it for you. And so you go and you get the fruit and you eat that fruit, and now you have organic minerals that your body can use in your system. And we all know how digestion works, well, to some degree know how it works. And these end up in your blood stream. Your river, the beginning of your river of life. The beginning process of the water of life. All right, so when your body has extra organic minerals, vitamins, stem cells, distilled water molecules that are readily absorbed by the body, either internally or externally. It'll go right through your skin and back into your body. So when your body has an excess and an abundance of all this good stuff, living water, it puts it in your bladder. And if you have this living water in your bladder, and let's say you go out and you're in the desert and it's real hot, and you begin to sweat a lot, your body will reabsorb from your bladder this living water. Because it's not waste. It's not a waste product. It's sterile. It's living, sterile, distilled water that's filled with all the vitamins and minerals that your body can use. Okay, so just extrapolate further of what I'm saying here. This is the way to cure sickness and disease. This is the way to never be sick. This is the way to never be dehydrated. This is the way to never be malnourished. And if you get your alchemical process functioning properly, you will find that you are really not that hungry for dense materials, dense matter, carbs. You will in fact begin losing weight. This knowledge is suppressed. This knowledge, there's been an intentional campaign to suppress this. And again, with everything in the lower world, it always comes back to the sigil of the dollar bill. Money. These free things do not put money in the pockets of corporations that make Ritalin or any of the other synthetic, toxic chemical concoctions that they give you when you don't know any better, when you are in your matrix mind. Everything you need comes from within. Always has, always will. But see, nothing from within you is going to make anybody else money. And see, if I'm only out to get your money, I'm not going to tell you any of this. I'm going to instead manipulate you, lie to you, deceive you, and then I'm going to pop up with my product. And I'm going to say, here's what you need. And I have it. And so you need it. And if you want it, I'll give it to you for a certain amount of money. And I'm giving you this free. I'm giving you this knowledge for free. Why would I do that? Well, I'm not greedy, for one thing. I'm not in the matrix. I'm not mind controlled anymore. I understand what love truly is. And how do you understand what love is? How do you come to understand love? You understand love by loving yourself, not your ego self, not your fleshly, carnal, mental self. Not that you hate it. You don't attack yourself. You simply see things for what they truly, really are. And then you decide that you're okay with it. All of it. I'm okay with the Matrix. I mean, that's almost not true. If I was okay with the Matrix, I guess I wouldn't be saying anything, and I'd just say the hell with all them people in the Matrix. They're fucked until they wake up. But they'll wake up during one of their lifetimes, so really there's no problem. And really there isn't. And really they will wake up. Everybody's going to wake up eventually. But see, we're back to this thing of love. If I love myself, I'm going to love you. Because when you realize self, everything emanates from self, so everything is connected to self, everything is a part of self, then that means what you've considered other person is a part of you. And so in loving you, you are loving them. In loving me properly, I'm loving the earth. It's part of us. And you could extrapolate that out, and for the people that need God or need to use that word or are still in that gray area of what that all is, you could say, well, then you're loving God too. By loving yourself. And you absolutely will love yourself when you understand who you are. See, a lot of people really don't love themselves. They might say that they do, but I mean, deep inside they really don't. They really kind of despise themselves. They really kind of talk down to themselves in their mind. They really are very critical of themselves. They really do a lot of judging of themselves. And all of this is the ego self. And it's probably true, a lot of that, about the ego self. But guess what? You're not the ego self. That's not you. You, again, have been led to believe that that's you, or made to believe that that's you. Just like you've been made to believe that the Matrix holds the answers, and that the answers are either in science, if you're polarized to the left, or the answers are in religion, if you're polarized to the right. And the two can never agree, and the two will never agree, because they're at opposite ends of the pole. But come join us in the center. Come join us in the middle. Again, where we see and observe all of it, and we're okay with it, because it really doesn't affect you unless you let it. The controllers can't control you unless you let them, or unless you consent to it. And so now you realize you're all powerful. In that sense, you're all powerful, meaning you're all powerful over you as a sovereign, sentient co-creator. Nobody can come in and change that fact. Nobody can take your sovereignty, which would be to enslave you. Unless, of course, you consented. And so I know the mind, how it works. Some people are thinking, well, if they come grab you and put you in handcuffs and put you in a cage, well, then they just overrode your sovereignty, blah, blah, blah. No, they haven't. They haven't. Yes, physically, they might have put you in a jail cell, let's say. But you are still a sovereign being. You still are not consenting to being controlled by them just because they took your physical sleeve and put it somewhere against your will. Okay, so they have violated your will at that point. But they have not violated your sovereignty. Nor could they, nor can they. Ever. Nobody can. So I think that's a good amount of info for this one. Hopefully you'll marinate on that. Hopefully you'll extrapolate and go beyond where I stopped at with it, because there's some really deep hidden wisdom that I'm taking you to the brink of, but I'm leaving it to intuition, synchronicity, your own will, your own desire, for you to discover the next few steps on the path. And some absolutely amazing, profound, unexplainable stuff will begin to happen, or can begin to happen, in your reality. And the choice is yours, as always. How deep are you willing to dig? And let's not forget this. We're talking about discipline here. Again, practice. If you're going to practice something so that you get good at it, it's going to take some discipline. That doesn't mean it's going to suck. That doesn't mean it's going to be too hard. Some days might be hard, but get rid of all the preconceived notions of what you might think that means. And enjoy it. Enjoy the growth. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the discovery. I mean, who doesn't, when you were a kid and you discovered something, you were like, fired up by that, or you were excited by that, or you felt good about that. Okay, this process should never stop just because you've grown up and now everybody is quote unquote growing old. I'm here to tell you that's a belief system. And if you say, well, it happens to everybody, well, you don't know everybody. You don't know the people that don't have that belief system. You don't know the people that have either stopped, halted, or reversed the process. Open your mind, expand your mind, explore, create, discover. Work with the ebb and flow. Work with yourself. Don't fight it. Don't fight with it. Don't fight with stuff. And the only thing I would say fight with is fight with your matrix mind, because it's going to battle you through much of the beginning process until you get that part under control, or you get that part resolved. And once you get that resolved, then your mind is no longer your enemy, or your, if not enemy, your something that's holding you back or keeping you back. It begins to work for you. See, you're not the mind. The mind works for you. The you that is I'm speaking of the true you, the self, the true self. The mind works for the true self. You are not your mind. Love and light, friends. Till next time. Balance and wholeness.